it's Anne Lewis here. I'm your Aussie stamper. You can find my website at annspaperworks.com.au. Thank you so much for dropping by tonight and stamping with me. I've got a fabulous project tonight. This is it here, and I'm using one of Stampin' Up's brand new products called Brushos. They come in 5 packs in 5 different colours: blue, moss green, brilliant red, gambonge and yellow. I love the Prussian blue and also the brilliant red, but tonight we're going to be using Prussian blue and yellow, and we're going to make this gorgeous card. Now when you use Brusho, it always turns out a little different no matter what you do. So you can never get it to turn out exactly the same. And so let's have a go and see what's going to happen tonight. So first off, let's get started, and of course the most important bit is how we get this gorgeous panel here with all the multicolours, but then how we got the white to stay as it is. I'm just seeing who else is here. Hi Francis, how are you? Good to see that you've dropped by. Hi Robin, good to see you. And I'm going to use Petal palette today, which I think will be of interest as well to everybody. So let's get going. So this is the bit we're going to be doing now. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the big shot, and you're going to be a little surprised how I'll get those out of the way. I'll just move this along because I know lately I've been a little off screen, so we're going to fix that tonight. So this is the Petal Pear embossing folder. Now it has the Stampin' Up sign on the top side, but we're going to be inking up the one without the Stampin' Up side, and it's the one with, I suppose, the more raised areas within the image. So I'll just actually get rid of that for a second because we want to be able to see what we're doing. And we're going to be using Versamark ink. First thing that we're going to do is use our embossing buddy over the watercolour card that we're using tonight. And the watercolour card is perfect for Brusho because it soaks up all that water. So here's my Versamark, and I'll tap gently on here. I want to make sure there's really good coverage, but I don't want to put too much ink on so it gets around the edges, so I don't want to rock it. I'm going to put this in, keep it nice and square if possible, close up that, bring back my big shot. I don't know how the easiest way of doing this is, but I'll bring it over there. Now I've got my big shot on the lowest tab possible, so to my left is tab 1 and 2, so I'm on the last tab, so there's nothing more I can remove, and that's because I've got thick paper and also a thick embossing folder. So I'll just put this through. I know I'm hitting my camera a little bit. I'll just put it through. It's a little hard to do this quickly, which is what I would normally do. I normally have my big shot rocking and rolling. I'll get it out of the way so it gives me a work surface again. And here we go. So there's my embossing folder. I'm going to pull this out. You can see nothing on the top because I placed the Versamark on the bottom. And on the bottom you might be able to see that it's a little shiny. But we'll add some embossing powder to it, which is over here. Now I always use paper in my embossing powder because it doesn't get any static on it. So I just get a scrap piece of paper, put this down. There's obviously my white embossing powder is pretty old. I do use it a fair bit, but it goes such a long way. So you can see I'm spooning it in. Then I'm going to tap it off as much so I get any of the excess off. So I'll just let it vibrate a bit, turn it around and get the rest off. Now I'm hoping that you can see that there's cream in, I suppose I would call it, in the cracks. Now I do have, because it seems to pick up some powder where I don't want it, so I always clean that off with a fine paintbrush. Doesn't have to be perfect, just the best you can, and tonight will be fairly good. But wherever you leave powder is where the colour's not going to take. So that's why I do take a bit of time taking this off in the areas I don't want it, because I want that brusho to create the wow. Now I'll put the lid on that because I have a long history of spilling embossing powder. I've got a bit all over my desk there. I'll get the heat tool. Now I'm only going to do a little bit of this so that you can see the difference, because I've already got one prepared. But I want you to see how it's kind of a very beigey colour in between the flowers and white where the paper is. So I'll just heat emboss one end of it. Hi Pammy, glad you could drop by. I'm hoping that you can see the difference in these two. I'll just put a little backing under this, that you can see that this end is whiter where the embossing powder has melted, and it's still cream down here. You need to make sure, I see I've just missed a bit there, you need to make sure that it has all been melted so that when you apply the brusho, none of it comes off. So you can see this end is white and this end is cream. So I haven't heat embossed that end. So now I've got a piece already done because I wanted to make sure this is quick, and watching me heat emboss is probably not the best use of our time today. So I've got some paper towel under here, and I've also got a craft mat because this can get a little messy and we don't want it to be messy. Thanks Fran for letting me know that you can see it. So I've got the pattern on here, so I will get those two colours that I'm using, which is the blue. Now never take the lid off on Brusho, it'll go everywhere. I've just poked 3 holes with my paper piercer, which is this. So, and I have to quite often tap the container to get it to come out because I think it clogs up a little bit. Now, no matter how many times I do this, it's going to turn out different each time. Now I'll just tap this a bit more. Now I do want a really strong blue, so you can see I'm putting a fair bit out, but you always wonder whether you're putting too much out, and you'll see in a second why I might think that. Now I'm adding some yellow just on the edges to add a bit of interest. You just see I don't want a lot to come out at one time. I'd rather it come gradually. I can always add more. Now, it doesn't look like I've got a lot here. I'll just move this along a little bit again so you can see. I'm going to add a little bit more blue, and you watch the magic of what happens when I spray this with some water. It's just amazing. let's see how this turns out. Now where I've embossed, see that Brusho doesn't take, and you can see how strong how strong and intense the colours are. Now I always give it a few secs to soak in a little bit, but if I've got too much anywhere or I need to add a bit more water, I can do that. More water you add, the less intense the colour. So I've just added a little bit. Doesn't look very special now, but actually I might take this up first. Take a little bit of that water off the top. I'm just gently patting this. And that's how it now looks. So I would need to dry that before using it. And I'll shift it off that paper so you can see it. I'll try not to get my hands in the middle of that. And there's my little panel. Now I could dry it with a heat tool, but I like mine to dry naturally. And I could have left a bit more ink on there if I had wanted to. Left the ink on there for a little longer is what I meant. So I'm going to put this to the side so it doesn't get in the way. And with the magic of Facebook Live, whoops, look at this, already done. So it's simple now to put the card together. What do you think of that? What do you think of Brusho? Do you like it? I can just tell you that it works in so many different ways. If I do this, I'm doing it on watercolor paper, but if I do it on glossy paper, it turns out completely different. I've used water. I could have used alcohol. I could also use it on shimmery white paper. Each of those cardstocks, it turns out a little different. Now I'll bring my card back so you can see what we're doing. We finished throwing water around everywhere, but what I will do, I'll just shake my grid paper off. It's got a little bit of embossing powder, and I think it's got a bit of Brusho on it as well. So we'll bring this back and we'll slide this back up here so you can see. Now I use fast fuse to put this together because, as you can see, it's a little warped and I want it to sit very, very flat. So I use lots of fast fuse, but in case you haven't got the news, fast fuse is not going to be carried over into the new catalogue, and as soon as it runs out it won't be restocked. So if you're a fast fuse lover, you better get in now. I've gone corner to corner to make sure that there's no buckling. Just go back and do that little bit. And this has a little, my piece here is 2 1/8 inches, and my Pearl Party, which is this cardstock here, is 2 1/4. So that sits really nice. It's come up nicely. We're going to do this stamping here. I've still got embossing powder everywhere, and as you can see, my hands, after doing this for an entire day, better straighten this up a little bit, after doing this for an entire day, has Brusho and ink all over them, and no matter how many times I wash them, it hasn't come off. So let's ink up this stamp set from the Petal palette. I'll just show you what it looks like. It's a double stamp set. It really is one of my favourites out of the new catalogue. It's got these lovely sentiments on this side, and it has these images over here, which you can colour with blends or even watercolours if you wished. Or you can just do what I'm doing, which is use the background. Come back over here. Now this is quite a big stamp, so I'm going to ink it up like that. Now I've got the leaves down here and I want them to come down, and it's going to hang off the side a little bit because it's too big for the little area that we have. I only wanted this to be quite pale, so I didn't re-ink my ink pad, which is Pool Party as well. Now I've turned that stamp around, so I stamp like that, and then to give it some balance, I've then turned that around, and so it joins up like that. This will sit there, but it looked a little plain going down there, so I've added another little line of stamping down there, and I've used this one here, which is the dots. Yes, you can definitely see how much I've been using Brusho. I'll show you some of my other projects that I experimented with today before we got into this one. So my stamp isn't long enough to do the edge, so I'll have to stamp twice with a little overlap here. And I only wanted it pale, so it works really well. I'm going to use snail. If you don't have snail, you could use tear and tape, or even Tombow multi-purpose glue. And as always, my fast fuse hasn't run out. Maybe it has. I think it's getting to the end. Oh, now we're off and running again. If you are using fast fuse, if you don't press too hard, it comes out so much easier. Right. I'll line this up. I only want a little border to my left. That's nice. Now in my card I added a ribbon, but tonight I just felt it would be easier and quicker for everybody. You all know how to add ribbons, and you'd all be laughing at me if I stuffed up the bow, because you know I always say I can do a bow. I'm going to add the little best wishes, which I did tone on tone, so I kept it fairly plain because it's quite a fancy card, this. And again, I'm using my fast fuse from corner to corner, and then I tick it at the end to make sure the glue breaks off. And it was pretty simple. I do have, I just see I've got a little bit of overhang there, so I'll trim that off so that it fits really well. And it's easier to do that from the back side with some sharp scissors, so I use my paper snips. Make sure it's not upside down. I haven't got any border at the bottom, I've only got it on left and right. And there's my card, and it hasn't taken very long at all. I think that's 20 minutes. Now on my original card, I did decorate the inside. I added another row of flowers, most of it stamped up, and used the gorgeous sentiment from Petal palette from the heart. So that's this week's project. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to show you another two projects that I did today, but I like this one a little better. And this is, again, it's an emboss resist technique. So I've embossed the stamp set, and these were solid stamp sets, and then I've thrown a collection of Brusho onto the watercolor paper, and it's popped up. And I've used two stamp sets that feature the flamingo, the Pop of Paradise and the Fabulous Flamingo, which they go together really well. And that's where I just love this water, how it's turned out, which comes in this set here, as you can see, and I've just stamped it a couple of times. And then this one is using the Heartfelt Blooms, embossed it again. Now because of the nature, it's that distinctive ink process. It didn't take the Brusho as well as some of the more solid stamps, but it still looks good. I've just got to add a sentiment to that. So that's it for me today. It's a big week. Remember, we've got the Charity Day coming up next month on the 17th, on Saturday the 17th of March. Don't forget, bingo always sells out, and it's on Sunday the 25th of March. So it's a prepay is required, and you won't believe how good the prizes are. There might be, if I get enough there, a full set of Stamping Right markers as one of the prizes. So I'd like to see you at bingo. Don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. And remember, I'll be posting this on YouTube if you want some further details and also the measurements. So thanks very much. Much appreciated. Hi, Karen. Sorry to miss you, but you can watch it when I'm finished. I'm nearly at the end now. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by and stamping with me. If you need any, as you know, all these products are available from my online store. Happy crafting. Thanks for coming stamping with me tonight.